Good day to you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Film Focus, episode 218, the review for the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen of the North, South, East, and West, and welcome to another episode of Film Focus. I'm your host, the Hypersonic55, and I'm glad you decided to join me once again for some film-related discussion. And today, we'll be reviewing the Super Mario Galaxy movie, the sequel to the box office smash from 2023. Now, I haven't seen that first film since its release, but even if I did, I don't think my thoughts would have changed that much. As I said back then, the film looked incredible, with beautiful animation. Brian Tyler's score was wonderful when it wasn't being overshadowed by that disgusting amount of licensed music. And spotting the references, big and small, was enjoyable. However, the story and characters was lacking. And while I had fun watching it, I didn't feel the need to watch it again. And I don't feel like it reached its full potential. And so with the announcement of the sequel, there was hope but also concern. On one hand, the new film will be based on Super Mario Galaxy, one of my all-time favorite games, and there will be so much more to explore with Princess Rosalina, the space setting, and so on. But on the other hand, considering how the first film turned out, I was worried about experiencing the same disappointment again. So in this review, I'll discuss the story, characters, presentation, and overall conclusion. So without further ado, let's jump in. Alright, so the story for this film can be summed up as the following. In this film, Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Toad have to venture out into space in order to combat the new villain in the form of Bowser Jr., son of the big bad from the last film. He has come to the Mushroom Kingdom to not only save his father, but also enact his new plan, which also happens to involve Princess Rosalina, who is the guardian of space. And that is a way for me to summarize this film without going into the area of spoilers. Now, there is a lot going on in this film, and I think that is one of the key reasons why it is not that good. And when it comes to the story, well, there really isn't a story. There are attempts at elements that would make up a story, but this film is literally a series of scenes that are strung together with not that much narrative cohesion, and everything just feels like it's a little all over the place. The execution just isn't good. It feels like they've adopted a bigger is better approach, leading to a lot happening with many moving parts. However, this has led to a lot of unnecessary bloat and detours. Plus, as enjoyable as it is to spot and hear various Nintendo references from their games, which, again, I've been playing these games for pretty much the majority of my life, and they were fun. It felt like they were scattered all over the place, similar to Ready Player One, but with less restraint. And if spotting Easter eggs is your thing, that's fine, but part of me feels like it was a joyful distraction from the main story. There are certainly ideas in this film involving certain characters and lore which intrigued me. However, they weren't explored with enough depth that they needed to be meaningful. And due to the pacing, the film doesn't linger on anything long enough for certain elements to develop or resonate with the audience. It just felt like this thing that was just constantly moving. And just when you were starting to get into the rhythm of something, you were pulled away from it and then had to go somewhere else. And the film, its humor was fine. I wouldn't say there was anything that made me laugh out loud. But again, there were certain moments I was having fun. And seeing the Mario Galaxy aesthetic realized in an animated form, and seeing how this film sort of contextualized certain things from the games was cool. But there's also moments where there's stuff from the games that isn't explained. And I know, again, the Mario games do not have that much in the way of story. They're actually mostly vacant of story, but the fact that there wasn't even an attempt to at least try to do something with the story in this film. Now, I don't know if this is just down to the writer, or this is more so the director's choices, or this is the influence of Shigeru Miyamoto because he worked heavily with the team at Illumination to make this film happen. So maybe they still try to adopt that Mario game mentality where it's more so about the experience and the gameplay as opposed to the story. But as you know, films are story-based mediums, so the fact that they just felt like they didn't need to try in this department or just wanted to avoid that just baffles me. And now we move on to the character department. Now, there are many people that show up in this film, which causes their importance to fluctuate. only a few actually serve a clear purpose, while the rest are delegated to supporting characters or merely extended cameos. So let's start with the Mario brothers. As a pair, they share some fun interactions, but they're not all that interesting, and save for a few moments, they're fairly reactionary and aren't as involved with the main action as I expected. Now, with Chris Pratt's portrayal of Mario, it still remains fine. Again, I still wish that Mario had at least a little bit more oomph in his performance. Whereas Charlie Day as Luigi still continues to be a highlight, still being lively, charismatic, and bringing that fun kind of energy. And then when it comes to Princess Peach, she's still the capable ruler that she was in the last film, except she's just got a lot more going on with her in this one. Now, I enjoyed what they tried to do with her story in this one, although it was interesting that at times she seemed so capable that she kind of made the Mario brothers look a little redundant, but hey ho, she still served a purpose, and Anya Taylor-Joy did a good job voicing the character. However, the returning cast, Jack Black still continues to be the standout as Bowser, still bringing that fiery energy and humor to the character. And seeing where the character goes in this film, there were so many little moments that I enjoyed, and I was really vibing with what they did. I just wasn't happy with how his story turned out. And with some retooling, there could have been some really good stuff character-wise that he could have done with him. As for the newcomers, Benny Safdie as Bowser Jr. was unexpectedly good. Bowser Jr. is prideful, headstrong, and eager to prove himself, and the moments that he had with his dad were particularly good. Again, I just wish there was more of it. Yoshi was a welcome addition, played by Donald Glover, offering some humor and moments with the character that were fun in the action department, but also just small little interactions where Yoshi has a lot more personality than he does in some of the games, which is interesting. And Donald Glover's performance, he doesn't really have much to work with in terms of like verbiage, but he leaves his mark on Yoshi in a pretty fun way. And even though Nintendo spoiled it early, the fact that Fox McCloud was in this film was definitely a highlight. While he differed from the game's personality-wise, he was still cool, charismatic, and Glenn Powell did a good job voicing the character. Fox, when you see him in this film, God, it was so fun. And then you have Princess Rosalina, who is someone I love from the games, and her portrayal in this film was a little mixed. On one hand, she was powerful, confident, caring, and Brie Larson did a good job voicing her. But at the same time, she wasn't as capable as I'd hoped, and she wasn't in the film nearly as much as I would have liked. And when it comes to the presentation, it is still this film's strongest aspect. Visually, this film is stunning, with vivid colors, excellent lighting, impressive art direction, and animation that is fluid, lively, and eye-catching, particularly during some of the larger set pieces or the action scenes. Illumination, I'm not super keen on their movies, but they do make bloody pretty looking films, and these last two Mario films are insane. And on the audio side of things, Brian Tyler returns to score this film, and his work is so darn good. I loved the score from the first film, and I feel like this one is even better. Now, granted, he's borrowing themes from one of my favorite games, so it would hopefully sound good, but the way he's able to weave so many of these Mario themes that I've known for the last almost 20 years into this film at very interesting points, but also utilize some of the other songs from the Mario series and other Nintendo stuff as well. It's really, really good. So to conclude, the Mario Galaxy movie prioritizes style over substance, much like its predecessor. And although it features some interesting story ideas and character motives, they lack sufficient depth, time, or nuance. And while I had a great time looking at this film, hearing its music, and seeing some of those references from the games which made me giddy as hell, at the same time it just wasn't enough. Now, die-hard Mario / Nintendo fans, or just general kids, will probably get a kick out of this film. And clearly from the conversations online, there are a lot of people who love the hell out of this film. And more power to you. I'm not here to yuck on anyone's yum. If you had a good ass time with this film and could look past the lack of story and characters, that's fine. But there's also a conversation to be had about the lack of this stuff, and the people who didn't enjoy this film, who put out logical reasons as to why, you shouldn't dismiss them. Let's just be logical individuals and just accept that some people liked the film and some people didn't. We don't have to fight each other. But alas, Mario has brought up the conversation once again about fans versus critics, and this film is made for children, so it can be okay to be devoid of any sort of content that we expect from other films in the animation department from other studios. And this conversation is exhausting. I do want to contribute to it, but I'll probably save it for my other podcast, From Pixels to Celluloid, where we'll be talking about this film in a little bit more detail. I just wish that we got to live in a world where we not only got the references, the visuals and the music, but also got a great story and characters on top of it. It would have elevated the film so much higher, but hey ho, you can't get everything. So yeah, if you are looking for a film that is a little bit more cohesive and has a more meaningful story with well-developed characters, this one may not be for you. But for everyone else, I guess give it a shot and see what you think. But now I turn it over to you, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think of the Mario Galaxy film? Did you like it more or less than the last one? And I would say, if you are going to talk about this film, please be civil. Not everything has to be black and white, and you can give your reasons without, resorting to being, a dickhead about it. But yeah, let me know in the comment section below, or hit me up on Instagram or Twitter, where we are at Film Focus. And yeah, just check out the podcast where podcasts can be found on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube. And yeah, again, Film Focus is on TikTok as well, so if you lurk about on that app, join me over there, it'd be fun. But yeah, thank you for listening as always, ladies and gents, and until the next time, this is the Hypersonic 55 signing out. Peace.